Also next, Congress working on an emergency border aid package as the humanitarian crisis only worsens. The latest right after the break. The Senate voting right now on the House's $4.5 billion supplemental spending bill to address humanitarian issues at the border, but it faces a tough path to enactment. It's facing a veto threat from the White House, but the Senate has a separate bipartisan bill, which the president does support this. So if the House bill fails in the Senate may vote on its own bill later today. I want to bring in Border Commerce and Security Council President Nelson Balido. Nelson, listen, the imagery that the American public has seen over the last 24 hours driving this home more than ever. It is a humanitarian crisis. It's something that must be addressed. I think it's something that should be not politicized anymore. I think both sides of the aisle have to put their differences aside. Now, apparently this House bill won't make it through. Do you know enough about the Senate bill, the Senate compromise bill, and whether or not that ultimately could be the framework for something that gets through?
Well, thanks for having me back, Charles. And certainly, you know, the Senate bill is going to have some Department of Human Services dollars attached to it. But more importantly, they're looking for $50 million to be able to get more judges, more immigration judges that we need on this border. That's really the problem. The reason we have all these people on the border is, number one, obviously the House bill is only addressing issues that focus on once they get here, instead of looking at issues stopping them from getting here at all. And if they enacted something in this legislation, that would stop the crisis and the humanitarian problem we have. Now, once they're here, the reason they have 2 to 3 years, sometimes even 4 years of waiting in line in the United States is because we don't have enough immigration judges. That was not part of the House bill. It looks like that may be part of the Senate bill. And then Trump has basically said, look, I'm going to veto this if it doesn't make sense to stop the crisis and stop to put some dollars in place to stop this insanity. And the greatest thing is now we have a foreign government that's doing more than our own Congress to address the issue.
You know, all eyes are on the U.S. Congress. It's a pox on both houses until this gets through. And no one wants to hear about going on a 2-week summer vacation. So having said that, and understanding the urgency, understanding the predicament, particularly Nancy Pelosi continues to find herself in trying to corral her members, do you think that perhaps midnight tonight, early tomorrow, whatever it is, we can get some sort of compromise?
You know, I hope we can, because I'll tell you, I just got back from Yuma, Arizona just last week, and the crisis is everywhere. 3 weeks ago I was in Laredo. I was talking to Border Patrol. I even talked to some of these crossers, these illegal crossers. I tell you, the thing is, until Nancy Pelosi, and hopefully they put these things aside and enact some legislation, this is not going to change. Absolutely, they can do it. It's all on her. They have to corral the fringe part of the Democratic Party to say, look, we want to do this because it's the right thing to do. You know, we've had warnings on this now for months. We've known there was a border crisis. Sure. We've been talking about it since early last year. 144,000 people crossed the border last month. In a decade, we haven't had this number. It's 4 times the amount we were having just a year ago.
You know, Nelson, unfortunately, late last year, a lot of people were referencing old data and actually laughing at the idea that this was an emergency. No one's laughing now. Thank you very much. Always appreciate your expertise.
Thank you, Charles.